Happy to be joined by Zac Pauga, who's going to be making his UFC debut this Saturday in the finale of The Ultimate Fighter against Mohammed Usman. Zac, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, pleasure is all mine, man. You're a name I've been hearing even before The Ultimate Fighter because I know Curtis Blades very well, and he just raves about you. So it's been really cool to see you go on the show and obviously make it to the finals here. And that's kind of where I wanted to start first. The Ultimate Fighter, for some people, I know it's not the greatest thing. How was it for you? I mean, obviously you made it to the finals. I imagine things went well, but I got to ask anyways. How was the overall experience?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm in the finals, so it wasn't too bad. But I had a good time, honestly. I know people really struggle, and even on this season, the house kind of broke a lot of people. But for me, I'm a little bit older. You know, I'm used to not having technology. Like, that's how I grew up. So it was kind of fun for me, actually. It's like a little vacation, a little training vacation.
Okay. Would you say it was easier or harder than you thought it would be?
So fighting that often was harder than I thought it was going to be. But being in the house with the cameras was easy. It was a lot easier than I expected it to be.
Okay. And how tough was it kind of keeping things a secret? Because I know obviously they pre-taped the show and you knew you were in the final, but you can't tell anyone. So how tough was that?
So yeah, it was really hard for me because I won and I was going to the final. I'm fighting in the UFC, so it's hard for me to just keep it secret. And then everyone from the show is trying to keep their like 15 minutes of fame going and chirping back and forth on social media. And I can't say, hey, you guys know I won, right? You guys know I beat all of you. Yeah. So I just have to keep my mouth shut. So it was hard for me to keep it quiet this whole time.
And one other thing I wanted to ask you about before this fight is I see you're with Paradigm Sports. How long ago did you sign with them? And how did that all come together with you signing with one of the best management groups in the game right now?
So I signed with them after my first pro fight. They had reached out to me as an amateur, actually, and I didn't want to have a management group. I didn't want to deal with it early on. I kind of just wanted to run things on my own, basically. But after my first pro fight, I fought a really good guy. He was like 4-1 or something. And I smoked him and could not get a fight. I went 8 months without a fight and basically broke down. And I reached out to all the management groups, everyone. I said, listen, if you want to represent me, bring me a fight and then we'll talk. And Paradigm was the one that did it.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I was always wondering about stuff like that. So you're fighting Mo Usman, like I mentioned off the top, a lot of familiarity there, not only with the fact you guys were on the same team, but if I'm not mistaken, Mo was also training at Elevation, if I'm not mistaken, was he not? What's sort of the familiarity with Mo sort of going into this fight?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very familiar. He trained at Elevation for 2 years. We were training partners, sparring partners. His brother Kamaru is still on the team. I see him every week. So, yeah, I know him really well.
How did it work for this camp? Did he have to go somewhere else? Because I guess you would have been there longer, right?
So he actually left before the show started, even before we knew we were both going to be on the show. Just personality differences. Things didn't really shake out, and he went and chose to be in a different camp before the show started.
Okay, gotcha. So no issues there, because I know that can be a bit awkward, and I'm sure a little bittersweet as well because you know him, right? So that's I guess the only caveat in this fight. But let's talk about the style matchup. Again, Mo, 7-2 record. How are you looking at this fight from a style perspective?
He's big and he's strong and he's explosive, but that's about it. He's not that skillful. He just bum rushes people down and uses his physicality on them, and that's not going to work against me.
Do you also feel like it helps that, I mean, you're mainly a light heavyweight, right? He has fought at heavyweight, but I think a lot of people feel like he would probably be suited better at 205. Does that make the matchup a bit easier? It's not like you're fighting someone like Curtis, who's an absolute tower, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, it makes it a little bit different. I do know that before the show came up, Mo was trying to cut and get a fight at light heavyweight. Oh, so we're both guys that are this tweener position, right? I walk around at 240. He walks around probably about the same. It's not like we're small light heavyweights, but we're also not guys pushing the limit like Curtis is.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Training camp, again, I know Curtis Blades really well. I know you got to work a bit with him ahead of his fight against Tom Aspinall. Who have you mainly got to work with ahead of this fight besides Curtis?
So, yeah, other than Curtis, we have just a stable of guys. Devin Clark, he's fighting in the UFC, the week after me. He would be my other main training partner, and then just a few of other up-and-coming guys that you'll know their names pretty soon here.
Yeah, and you know, I think I've talked to fighters about this before. Like, how key is it to have those guys in the gym, the amateurs, the up and comers, not only for getting a different look, but getting those guys that are maybe going to give you that, you know, that extra push because they're still trying to prove themselves. Like, how vital is that in camp?
You know, it's everything. You have to have all pieces of it in the camp. I can't do every single round with Curtis. It would just not be. I wouldn't be able to work on the things that I want to work on because I'm not fighting the best wrestler in heavyweight history, you know? So doing every single round with Curtis isn't necessarily to my benefit. You got to have other styles, other people you can be successful against. And then, yeah, people that are hungry, people that are going to come in and push you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Do you have to cut any weight for heavyweight, or you just kind of like I'm curious, like what sort of because, you know, obviously if you're fighting a light heavyweight, I'm sure you got to diet down, eat well. How's that looking going into this heavyweight fight? No,
so like I said, I'm 240 pounds right now. I don't have to cut a thing, and I like it. This fight week is much different than my light heavyweight fight weeks. Eating good, still training hard, feeling great all week long, and you know I really do enjoy it right now.
And I know we got to see how things go on Saturday, but is it safe to say you probably will go back down to light heavyweight, or do you see yourself competing in the heavyweight division?
You know, I like a lot of the fights at the bottom of the heavyweight division. There's a lot of guys that were signed during COVID, you know, that in my opinion don't really belong in there. And I'd like to go in and show them the door before I go down to light heavyweight and make a run.
I see. Pulling a little Daniel Cormier, right? He did the same thing, right? Heavyweight and then came back down and then actually went back up after, but you kind of get what I'm going with there. Now, I know Curtis, because I just spoke to him over the weekend. I know he's getting back, I think, tomorrow. Is he going to be in your corner, or who's going to be cornering you for this fight?
Yeah, so it'll be the same 4 guys that we have at his fight. It'll be Curtis, Vinny Lopez, and Cody Donovan in my corner. So he gets back tomorrow and flies straight to Vegas. Yeah,
I think Tuesday something. I'm actually interviewing him later tonight. That's how good of a guy he is. He's going to do the interview and then he's flying out the next day. But back to you. How's this fight playing out on Saturday? I know it's heavyweight. I know we're probably not going to see this go to the scorecards, but give us a little glimpse of what we can expect.
So you're going to see Mohammed wants to brawl. He wants to get in my face and brawl. And I'm just going to put on just the classic, you know, sniper versus brawler. I'm going to keep my range. I'm just going to touch him and let him get frustrated. And he's going to swing. He hits hard, but I'm going to get out of the way and then eventually get him out of there.
And just last thing on the fight, like how much confidence does it give you getting to work with a guy like Curtis, who is a contender in the heavyweight division, and you go with this guy all the time? And to some degree, nothing against Mo Usman, but like, I mean, the guys you train with are in some ways harder than the fight itself.
Yeah, it's made the difference in my whole career. I turned pro 2 years ago. That's why I'm in the UFC in 2 years. You know, my first pro fight, my Shark Tank rounds were with Curtis Blades and Alistair Overeem, and then I go in my fight and it's easy compared to that. And that's what is the story of my whole career.
And you talked a bit about your career there, like, you know, just 2 years ago. I mean, this is like, you know, sort of the start of your career, and here you are, you know, fighting for a UFC like mainstay roster spot. Have you been able to reflect on everything that you've accomplished? Like, I know you've been putting the work in, getting the fights, and like I said, you're with this big management company, but have you been able to reflect on all the success you've had in such a short period of time?
You know, today was the first time that I've really sat back and thought about it. You know, I told my wife when I woke up this morning, like, we're in a UFC fight week. You know, it's crazy to think about. You know, it feels good, but I'm not done yet. I'm just getting started.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, we talked all about fighting here. What about downtime? I know obviously Colorado's great. You can go hiking. I know Corey Sandhagen's big into the hiking and all that stuff. What do you like doing when you get that little bit of free time? I know you're a family guy too. What are some hobbies you have outside of fighting?
Yeah, so I've got 2 kids. So fighting is my hobby because other than that, I'm taking care of them. I'm a full-time chauffeur, getting them to school, getting them home, getting them to their activities. And that's just my life.
Are your kids in any other sports? Do they do martial arts too?
So my daughter does jiu-jitsu and she does dance and gymnastics as well. And my son's only 2, but he'll be starting jiu-jitsu as soon as he's old enough.
Yeah, I just put my son in jiu-jitsu this year, and he loves it. He's like 5 months in. He's about to get his new belt. He's turning 5 this year. So I also have 2 kids, so I can relate, because when you get that second kid, it really puts things up a level, does it not? Yeah. So that's awesome, man. And then you watching any Netflix, anything like that, any video games? I know Curtis is a big gamer. Do you have any time for that, or does the kids kind of take you out of that?
So I am a huge gamer, or like I would qualify myself as a gamer. I like to play, but I haven't played in a while because of the kids. But I do, you know, on the road, me and Curtis play Madden. I was a big Call of Duty guy before then. I love them. I'm hoping to get back to being able to play again, but just hasn't been in the cards for the, fighting on the regional scene, working and fighting and having being a dad at the same time.
Who's a better Madden player, you or Curtis?
So Curtis is a better player, but I'm up on the series right now. I won the last game that we played, and I will never let him forget that.
Who's your team in Madden? Who do you usually play with?
So I usually play with the Ravens. I like a scrambling quarterback, so that's how I usually play.
And Curtis has got to be the Bears, right? I would think, being a Chicago guy.
No, he does. He plays with the good teams, not with
fair enough. Yeah, it's not the nostalgic pick; it's the actual pick that'll win.
Yeah, he plays with the Chiefs. And,
got Mahomes. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Zach, thanks so much for doing this. We're looking forward to the big debut on Saturday. It's UFC Vegas 59. If there's anyone you want to thank, any sponsors or any social media you want to plug, I'll give you the last word.
Just thank my family, like always. My wife, Jess Pauga. Check me out. It's Zac Pauga, ZACPAUGA, on every social media site. I've got my links to all my sponsors and up on those.